the road to the Lalzit Bay. This is now the road to the Lalzit Bay. After about 20 kilometers west from the airport, you enter this small road. It's a small access road, but it's a very important part of the touristic development strategy, because as I have made in many videos, in the time of communism, the idea was not to build roads towards the coast, because Enver Hoxha was always afraid of an amphibious imperialist landing at his very inviting, beautiful and also militarily useful beaches. And these huge sand beaches can always be invaded easily. Actually, by the way, we never wanted to invade any of them, and nor did want Americans or anybody else, but he was sure, and so he didn't build any access road. And it took a long time, because first there had to be the big priorities was the economic development, the main axis who had to be built, and then the more, in a way, luxuries or regional roads had to be built, and these are the access road towards the so-called Lalzit Bay. When I lived in Albania in 2009, it was getting ready, or it was ready by then. It was one of the big projects of the Berisha government in the beginning, and it has led to very good economic development results here, and it has opened this beautiful bay for the development of these touristic villages, which I will show you also in this video. It looks, some aspects can be seen, there is still, not so good on the side, but, you will see the vegetation here in the Lalzit Bay is very southern Italian, very actually Mediterranean subtropical close. It's one of the main agricultural producing areas as well. It has a lot of farming and melons, and there's a lot of investment along the road as well, which is also very good and very positive. Here you see a lot of new houses, because many of the people in these villages, they were extremely poor, living only from agriculture, but now they have started the last 10 years of touristic development. Many of them have also invested in the coast, or they work in the coast, obviously, work in the construction there, work in the tourism services, have their own smaller kind of investment, or sell their agricultural goods to the restaurants and to the people who are making holidays in the Lalzit Bay. And this has led to kind of a small mini boom here in that area. Obviously, you still have the issues of waste collection. That's all over Albania. Since I was making so many efforts in my time here, I was working 6 years, complaining, working, trying to organize conferences, and there's major efforts, but the problem is the underlying infrastructure and payment systems and the property sector and the property related services, and the whole system must be fundamentally rebooted in order to have also the collection services then having the economic incentives done to get this done. But you see, the agriculture is booming here on all sides. The private investment is also booming, and there is a lot of positive development on this road. The road, when you come the first time to Albania, this is obviously mostly for tourists. It will be easier to have a driver or a taxi, but you can perfectly fine as well go with your own car to the Lalzit Bay. But the question is why you should be, because that kind of tourism is really not built on adventure and driving, but that's really, you go basically fly in, you get organized transport, a taxi towards the touristic village, and that's for people who want to stay in a touristic village then at the coast for a week or two or longer to spend the summer there. And it's really very nice. Why to live then? If you have everything you need there, you can make organized day excursions if you don't want to be at the beach the whole day, but it's actually quite wonderful places. So that's for families who want to be at the swimming pool or at the sea, at the Mediterranean. This is probably one of the most unique and reasonable priced experience how to do that, and that will be, I think, the future of an important segment of Albanian tourism, especially when it comes to tourists from Central Europe, from Germany, Austria and Poland, and these areas who drive with their families, who fly with their families towards this kind of climate, want to enjoy sand beaches, clean sand beaches, because here the big advantage obviously is you have less problems with the wastewater removal, because the touristic villages from the start had to build at least some rudimentary form of wastewater collections, and there is no kind of standard disposal into the sea, as unfortunately in Durres to this day is a significant issue with this major population center directly at the sea. And unfortunately, I just recently read that this was solved in the Americas, in the cities in the second part of the 19th century. We should have done that as well, but okay, that's the development. Whatever. So here comes this really, I call it Toscana style agriculture development. It's really very nice and very beautiful, and gives you a good impression about the access road, the agricultural possibilities here, and obviously this Mediterranean flair. Today is Saturday, it's one of the hottest weeks in the year. It's the beginning of August, and that's basically the main tourist season obviously, and you see a lot of people will come today to enjoy this weekend at the coast. Many of them have rented houses, or they have old bought houses, or they are just day visitors from Tirana. Of course, much of the tourism comes as well from Kosovo, which is obviously a very important tourist source for the Albanian tourism industry. This week they had a little bit of a debate, because there's also tourists from Serbia here, and they took along their music, and then there was a big debate about which music that is, and that's a bit complicated to follow, but nevertheless we should be tolerant in the summer, and we should also accommodate tourists, but we should definitely not play any songs which are then also promoting Greater Serbia. There should be a delicate balance found. These are these vegetable shops I told you. They are really very good quality, directly here from the region, and I have been eating many of these melons in the past, and I really like it. Here you see still a lot of agricultural land unused, because the big problem in Albania to this day, unfortunately, is obviously the land rights and the transparency in the ownership, also the whole system of agricultural land usage. And that will be something which only inside the European Union can be ultimately settled by time, because it's very complicated how everything was done and very messy. And obviously then there was a big anti-farmer policy in communism. Farmers were collectivized and there was no individual farmers, and then it was returned in 92 in a very complicated process. And so the whole thing, and there was this 90s which were so messy, and never a real kind of small scale landholding farming class could redevelop. And so there is some obviously over time, but we have still, this will take decades to stabilize. And the idea that we have this is one of the health centers here. You see, public investment is moving on and it's getting much better. I'm positively surprised. And here you see one of the hills, and then we are coming to this Lalsit Bay in about, I think, another 5-6 minutes to drive. So from the highway, this access roads takes now, we are 10 minutes here, and it's about I think overall 15 minutes until you are in the coastal area where one touristic village after another is developed. I was in Lura too, which is famous for being full of politicians, because they were the first one to secure themselves this beautiful places, so you can really go around and see all the famous politicians having their houses in that touristic village. But now obviously there is several of these projects. This is still one of the main regional cities here on the road to the Lalsit, and here you see the same structure of housing, some new investment and some small shops here. And of course a lot of people who have a future in Italy come back in the summer via the ferry to visit their family. and that's obviously very much the source of remittances and of money, and of the possibility also to invest in tourism, because with the money they make in Italy, they invest then in restaurants and in small hotels and in their own houses, and so gradually the upwards mobility of the economic system. You see, for example, this house is a 100% a typical house of somebody in the family works in Italy, and then they built this kind of family house out of their old plot which they have inherited, and then they gradually move up the economic ladder. And here you see some of these advertisements for one of the beach restaurants. You see Austrian Spa already here, and you see the road is in good condition. It's obviously not the Austrian level of federal road, but we always had also sometimes and you see the waste collection, the agriculture, and a little bit of this general impression of the access road towards the Lalzit Bay, which you have here. You see already here Giri e Lalzit. That's exactly what I'm referring to, and that's exactly where we are going to now. And here you see this very beautiful place, access road. I wonder how long it will be. My memory, I've not been now, let me think, since 2014. We moved to Kosovo from end of 2013. I think we came back in maybe twice during the times, but I'm not sure, maybe only once. But this long summer we had the honor to spend here, and the pleasure, it was in 2013. So I know the situation very well from 2013, where I saw all the places, and from 2009 to 2013, when I lived here and I spent the summers in Lalzit Bay. It was very, very beautiful. And I've been then maybe from Kosovo twice, 3 times, in 14 and 15, but not in 16 anymore. That was then we were already moving to Ukraine. So that's a bit the situation, yeah. So I'm also very curious how everything has changed, how the bay is developing, and how everything looks today in 2021. And I am happy I have this opportunity to travel here and to see it on the way back to Tirana in this kind of opportunity, and I hope it developed well. Honestly, now from this access road it looks pretty much similar like it always looked, yeah. So it was it has not changed fundamentally in a way. It is, I could imagine myself driving, maybe they put a little bit of more new asphalt in the meantime, but I don't know actually. I think actually some of the houses obviously looking better, but I don't see any fundamental changes to this road, which I knew so well. I took 100 times, because we actually then worked in Tirana in the 6 weeks in the summer, from middle of June to July, somehow in the 3rd week. So it was maybe 4 or 5 weeks, I don't remember exactly. And then we went every day to work. It's about 45 minutes to the Tirana city center. And then we came back, and in the evening at about 6 o'clock, our 2 children stayed with the nanny in the house we rented for this period, and it was a very wonderful summer actually. And it's then in the evening, it's very good for me. I'm not the most sun bathing person, so in the evening to go to the beach was really many nice hours. Maybe you can go 2 hours to the beach and then make ready for dinner, get ready for the dinner. And so definitely that was in the morning. You can also walk in the beach, beautiful runs at the beach, and so that was really a very nice way to spend the summer. It's obviously very hot here, you know, don't get me wrong. It's when you don't like the temperature, but the advantage is it's obviously then when you have a house rented or even bought, then you can also live like the Mediterranean people live. Yeah? Ultimately, you'd make siesta in the shadow inside in the house, and you basically break the day in two, which is a very logical lifestyle when the heat is at 40 degrees. And so that is the idea when you have this kind of climatic condition. Obviously everywhere there's air conditioning, otherwise it would be very difficult to live in the summer conditions in this almost subtropical, well, I had a debate once with Mr. Fischler if in Albania there is subtropical climate or not. He was the agriculture commissioner, so I didn't have anything to say anymore. But nevertheless, if that's not subtropical, I really don't know what it is. But okay, there might be some issues of definition. But it is definitely very special and very beautiful place in the European continent. This part of Albania at the coast north of Durrës, so-called road to Lalsit. Oh, you have here a Kali, a horse. You have here some kind of police checkpoint, and that's very good. They are really working. The road police is working, and they have this kind of traffic system. They are also not asking for money or harassing you, and they are basically, you have to have your light on, that's the only thing, and your papers must be in order, but they are not very interventive or somehow harassing foreigners for money. Like in Serbia, that can happen to you. In Montenegro, if you don't drive with your light on, that might be also one issue. You see now we are now turning towards the coast. That's basically the turn. It's 16 minutes. So from the highway crossing, I think the highway then is about 15 minutes to go. So this is exactly this half hour of access. And now we are coming then to the coastal strip where you see, and this is the working conditions here. They are renovating this petrol station. And here we have the access road. Here you can buy some of the beach equipment for the day and some of the supplies. Italian family, Albanian family from Italy coming back to supply for the day on the beach. And here is one of the, no, to my best knowledge, the road has not changed at all in the last 10 years. It's the same road. Some refer to this as Argita's road. This is the daughter of Berisha, and she had extensive efforts invested in getting this road done in order to develop this bay, where she also has some land, to my best knowledge. I was yesterday talking about all these things, and you have this top channel video. It's in Albanian, but it's a bit of a complicated topic. Now let's discuss the Lalsit Bay and not how everything went here. It's now 10 years this road is there, and it has opened this bay successfully, and it is basically the access road to one of the most beautiful bays, sand bays. It's always the question, do you want to have a sand beach holiday, or do you want to have kind of Croatian Montenegrin? In Montenegro you have also Ulcin, which is a similar geography than the Lalsit Bay, but obviously here you have, in Ulcin they didn't allow this form of touristic villages. They have what is also some rationality. They have allowed from the beginning much more focused on hotel development, because the development was different, what was inherited from Yugoslavia, and here basically the Lalsit Bay was in a kind of empty condition until 2009, because there simply was no road, and now the road is there. And obviously I will see now how many new touristic villages there are, and we will see one of them, and I will make a separate video to show you one of these. This is also one horse here, some of the villages and the development here, some of the restaurants. That's of course the big industry is always the wedding industry. And so you have already here, we are now directly here in the start, that's the pine trees. geography works like this. Over there is the sea. That's the Cap Rodonit. I showed you also from my videos in Durres, it is beyond it, next to Durres. And that's basically then these pine tree lines directly at the coast. You see it from there to there. 22 kilometers of pine forest. And then inside all these touristic villages. They are built. Here is one of them. Here is a second one of them. These are the tough guys going to the beach with their motorcycles. And here you have a big hotel. This is where I know there's Lura 2 village. This hotel is new. This is one of the new places. And we will then discover some of these places. And here is the entry place to the so-called San Pedro. And that's the Lura 2 village. There's also a big development there now. And here you see one touristic village. What I mean with touristic villages internationally, that would be called a gated touristic community. That means it's closed, it's fenced, it's built by one developer. He has to regulate the government relations. He is basically the man or the company who builds everything, invests, and then the individual apartments and flats are sold to international and local and Kosovo investors. That's basically the way it works. That's the coastal strip here. That's already where the sand land starts, and the pine tree forest is over there. And then we are entering now one of these places called San Pedro, which is one of the biggest investments in this town, in the touristic area. And now I say goodbye. That was the video to the access road, and then I will also show you some of these places here. And this is the access road to this place.